In this video, we're talking all about that Cedar Fair Six Flags merger. We're also going to talk about this lamppost that fell down over at Disneyland, hurt a few people. Very, very scary situation. We're going to talk about some Genie Plus. We're going to talk about Daddy Josh again. I know, Daddy Josh up next on OG 55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG 55. I have a fantastic panel with me today. We got the one and only Mr. Theme Park Casual. We got the Italiano. We're talking Six Flags, Cedar Fair, Genie Plus, all kinds of stuff. Before we get started, I'm going to introduce my fantastic panel. We have the Italiano. Welcome back, George.
Thanks again for having me on. It's going to be a great show. I love coming on, discussing theme parks, entertainment, Disney, Knott's Berry Farm, Universal, all that jazz. But before we get into that, if you would like to follow me on social media, you could do so on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can now also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Absolutely, absolutely. And down below, welcome back, Mr. Theme Park Casual. If you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Yeah, great to be back. And you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, all of them at Theme Park Casual.
Absolutely. And I will, of course, be linking his socials in the description. So make sure you follow and subscribe and show Casual all the love.
I don't know. Fly casual.
We're going to fly casual. Here we go. Let's rock and roll, boys. All right. So Six Flags and Cedar Fair merging in major theme park deal. It says here, Six Flags Entertainment and Cedar Fair on Thursday announced a merger that would establish one of the largest theme park operators in North America. Now, this is interesting. So combined, they would have 27 amusement parks, 15 water parks, 9 resorts in 17 states, Canada, and Mexico. Their signature properties include Cedar Point in Ohio, Kings Dominion in Virginia, and Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. So really crazy stuff. I mean, this is a mega merger. I mean, this is a massive park company. A little detail here on the merger itself, though. It says the companies described the deal as a merger of equals, giving the new entity an enterprise value of $8 billion. Okay, so basically what Hulu is worth. That's crazy. Cedar Fair uni holders will get about 51.2% of the company, while Six Flags shareholders will hold about 48.8%. They expect the deal to yield about $200 million in annual synergies, including $120 million in cost cuts, $80 million in additional earnings. So it says here the Cedar Fair CEO, Richard Zimmerman, will become the CEO, which is very, very good, while Six Flags CEO Salim Basoul will become executive chairman. Now, Casual, I'm going to start with you because this is kind of like your wheelhouse. You know, Knott's, you're very passionate about Knott's Berry Farm, which is actually owned by Cedar Fair. The passion that you have for Knott's is contagious. I absolutely love it. But like, as a Knott's fan, as a person who loves that park, what does this mean? What does this mean for Knott's fans?
Well, right off the bat, they removed a Cedar Fair park from the marquee outside. So it seems like they're excited about it and ready to move forward right out the gate. But as a Knott's fan, it's a little bit of a wait and see, a nervous kind of a wait and see, only because when Cedar Fair first purchased Knott's, they were taking it in a direction to kind of compete with Six Flags, and they were turning it into kind of like a thrill park, a coaster park. And that wasn't the identity for Knott's. Knott's has a very special identity. It's a very unique park. Once Matt took over with Cedar Fair, he was calling the shots, and he understood what Knott's meant to Southern California, what it means in the industry, and kind of returned some of that charm and brought back some of that, unique identity that Knott's has. So with that, this is another one of those moments where, those of us who are the Knott's fans who understand the park and have fallen in love with the park, we're waiting to find out, okay, how is this going to go? Do we get to keep our wonderful little berry farm park that grew out of, a fruit stand? Or is this going to be, the corporate takeover? And now we're going to, infuse it with some mentality of, we're going to give it the coaster treatment, or we're going to do this to it, and we're going to change this. I just hope that cooler heads prevail when it comes to, the identity of each individual park. And that's what I've said before. I really hope that they look at each individual park and try to create and capitalize on the identity that each park has.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I think that would be the best way for this merger to be a success all around.
Yeah, I mean, and positive out the gate is that we're with the Cedar Fair guy, Richard Zimmerman, is the one leading this. He's a CEO, while Salim Basul Salim Basul holds a high position. He's executive chairman, but at least he's not the top guy, right? I mean, that's.
Are you sure you're saying his name right?
Salim Basul?
I thought it was Salim the Fool.
Oh, yeah, there you go, George. Exactly. Exactly. Touche. Well, now what's interesting too is kind of like, okay, so they're merging. Well, Six Flags, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but and maybe the details of the contract will prevent this. But Six Flags has a lot of IP that Cedar Fair doesn't have. For example, Six Flags can use the DC and Warner Brothers characters. So is it maybe possible? I mean, I don't know the legalities of it all, but could we see Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck or Superman at Knott's, right? Theoretically. I mean, that would be interesting, right?
Yeah, I was curious about that too. What's the contract state? Is it a Six Flags and these parks that are named kind of thing? Is it, if they develop and build a brand new park, they're allowed to infuse them? But, is the merger part of that? And from what I can tell, it looks like the merger is going to allow the IP and the characters to be able to be brought over from the Six Flags parks into the Cedar Fair parks and vice versa. So you could, potentially, I would think, see Peanuts showing up in the Six Flags parks.
That's super interesting. Go ahead, George.
And I'm okay with that, as long as, speaking primarily with the Looney Tunes or Superman or Batman or what have you, if they do integrate them into the Cedar Fair parks, that I would hope that they give them their own kind of land that is dedicated to them, rather than just having them walking around sporadically into lands that kind of don't fit well for them, so to speak. Like when the last time when I was at Knott's Berry Farm, they have the Peanuts area specifically for the Peanuts, so they can kind of do something like that with the Looney Tunes. But because I do know firsthand, being an East Coaster, I've been to Cedar Point many times, which I do think this merger is going to be good even for Cedar Fair, because there are some issues that Cedar Point has been going through. Not necessarily financially, but a lot with the operations of the park itself, a lot of technical issues and everything. So hopefully maybe this will kind of work out the kinks for all those parks as well with this merger.
Yeah. Well, full disclosure, I've actually never been, believe it or not, I've never been to Six Flags Magic Mountain. I've just never, it's not my thing. it's not my thing, I'm kind of a chicken when it comes to crazy rides.
Well, let me ask you this, OG. Have you ever got a tetanus shot?
Yeah.
Oh, you're good then. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I never been. So I don't have any reference point in regards to their operations though. Casual, have you been to a Six Flags park? I mean, is their operations any good? Is it better than Cedar Fair? Worse than Cedar Fair? Same? Comparable?
I haven't been to Six Flags since, I think it was 2001 is the last time I went to Magic Mountain. And yeah, so it's been a little while. I have spoken with our friend Bob at Berry Place 28. He had a season pass for Magic Mountain, and he is not renewing the pass for himself or his daughter, simply because the last couple of times they've gone, the operations have been atrocious.
Wow.
Getting there and, there's, 4 coasters operating. The other ones are, either down for maintenance or just down because of whatever that for that morning. And it was just rough. So I'm going off of, secondhand information, but that's what I was hearing. And those stores are kind of the norm out there.
Wow. Now speaking of passes and stuff, what does it mean for like, okay, I have a season pass for Knott's. Is any word casual on like how that's going to work out? Like if you have a Cedar Fair season pass, will that be transferable over to the Six Flags parks, or any rumor or any talk on what that might play out like?
I haven't seen anything, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to keep that, until everything's been squared away and they know, everything that's going on, and then they'll kind of release what the pass is going to look like, because both companies have, somewhat affordable season passes. So combining them, what does that do? Does that raise your prices? Because now, you've got people that are within the vicinity of, potentially, additional parks.
Right.
Right. That, like right now I would, we have Knott's passes. If, does it jump up to $150, from the $99? Does it go up to $150, $200 now, simply because we have, freeway access to two parks,
That's true. That's true. I can see
that's what I always think of, that if you start merging parks, to attach onto annual passes, well, then there you go with like that, again, price increase and take this off to put this on and all that. And that was the beauty thing about Knott's, because Casual, you were describing how the Knott's Berry pass works, because I'm strongly considering on getting one, of how the price is decent, there's a lot of add-ons, but there are good add-ons that actually benefit you and what have you. So I would be kind of afraid for them to kind of attach Six Flags onto the pass if it hinders how the Knott's Berry Farm Pass is right now.
Yeah.
So
they're going to have to weigh it out.
Yeah. They're gonna have to wait out for sure. Now, George, when you eventually move to California, you're thinking about it. Maybe getting a season pass for Knott's.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, I am. I'm considering Universal. I'm kind of like on the fence about it right now, because I don't know how many times I would actually go. But I mean, then again, being a local, I could kind of say, yeah, why not? Something more to do. Right. I think more so if I was to go to Universal, it would be more so for the tram tour. I absolutely love the tram tour. I did it twice in just the one day that I was there. I mean, that is like pinnacle Hollywood. It's like the creme de la creme, kick your day off at Universal. It's like, especially I got to see the set of Back to the Future. That was just,
it's amazing.
That gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, it's funny because I give Universal a lot of shit on the channel and stuff, but honestly, I actually go quite a bit, believe it or not. I got the pass, I think, back in February. Our friend Theme Park Wizard kind of hustled me into getting one, Wizard gets, right?
Oh yeah.
But I've gone quite a bit. Like I think since I got the pass, I've probably gone 7 or 8 times. So like averaging like once a month, and I've been having fun with it. It kind of gives you a little bit of a reprise from the Disneyland stuff, a little bit of a different, a different thing. And like George, I fell in love with the tram tour. I love that, man. It's like, and it's long too, right, George? Like 45 minutes.
Yeah, basically you could just kind of keep doing that all day, And what I love about it is you get a different experience.
Right.
Each time you go on it. And if you go on at different times of the year or different times of the seasons, they could actually be filming something, or, they have something blocked off. And, there's times where I believe guests got to see Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard while they were on the set for Jurassic World. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Now, Casual, you're okay. So we know you're a Disneyland guy because you do phenomenal. Everyone at home, if you haven't seen his vlogs, his live streams from Disneyland, you got to check them out on YouTube. So we know you got the Disneyland pass, and you do phenomenal live streams also from Knott's. You don't have a Universal pass. Would you consider getting one, or is it a little too much right now because you already have the other two?
Yeah, that's my only problem is even getting to, Disneyland and Knott's on a regular basis is, squeezing it into the schedule. So, and Universal from my house is like 75 miles. Oh, so it's a little bit of a trek.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that would be kind of a little bit of my argument too, because where I would like to be as far as living wise, I'd be much closer to Disneyland and Knott's than I would for Universal.
Yeah.
So it'd just more so be the commute back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite because I live in the valley. I live in the valley, which I can take side streets to Universal. It's kind of funny. I'm pretty close. So is Wizard actually. He's pretty close too. But like, yeah, it's a fun little park though. It is. It's different.
See, if they had the Metrolink station a little bit closer to where you could hop out and you're at Universal, that probably would have made a difference for me.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very curious your thoughts on that. Whenever you go, maybe we can join you or at least come back and or call me. And
when was the last time you went casual?
I think the Dracula house was the new thing, so I was probably like 5.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Okay.
But yeah, let's dive into our next topic, which is Disneyland. Okay, this is crazy news. This is from Disneyland News today. It says here, Disneyland lamppost support pole was rusted inside before falling and injuring multiple guests. So you can see here. Let me see if I can actually pull up this site. With my lovely internet. Yeah, of course not. Okay. Well, no, that's not going to work. But anyway, yeah, you can see here, though, it actually, the inside pole that's like holding this whole thing up, like rusted all the way through. And the thing fell over. It injured 3 people. I think 2 of them were minor injuries. One of them was really significant injuries. They went to the hospital. I'll start with you, George. What are your thoughts on this, man? I mean, this is obviously bad news, but what's your thoughts?
First off, I just have to say, I hope that the people that were involved in this accident are okay, whether it's minor or severe injuries. Just, hope and praying that everybody is all well and good and safe. That's the important thing.
Of course.
Going off of what the pole, now they say that it was from the strong winds that were passing through, but essentially because of it rusting from the inside on top of the winds is what made the pole kind of give out. Now, I don't know as far as the logistics of how maintenance wise that you check the lamp posts or the poles. Like, I don't know, like do you even do that? I mean, do they go around like each night to see like how sturdy they are? Well,
that's the thing that I was wondering, because if you look at the base of this thing, right, it doesn't have like a little door or anything where they can unscrew it and look inside. So what would be the protocol or the whatever to like check, right? Like, what would they do to like know that it's rusted on the inside? I don't know. I mean,
the only way that you would actually know is by removing the whole pole, I guess. And I think it's unfortunate, for Disney, and it's unfortunate for the guests that got injured. To me, I could say that this was a freakish accident that you hate saying it, but it's kind of, you really never know. Now, moving forward, Disney might create something where they now have to kind of go around, because if this happened to one pole, more so there's a possibility the other poles have the same issue because they all were installed at the same time, we're assuming. So my guess is now Disney's going to have to take a closer look at those other poles to make sure that no other issues come about this.
Yeah, like the thing is like, I think that, okay, should the should the people who got hurt, should their families sue? Absolutely. Should they win, and should they get a settlement or get some sort of whatever? Yeah, absolutely.
If Disney was smart, Disney should actually offer something before and even a suit is even filed, or at least offer something for the inconvenience and the stress of being injured, especially to the person who is severely hurt that had to go to the hospital.
If we have any cast members watching, or anybody even like just like in the that's an electrician or whatever, comment down below. Like, what's the protocol or like the standard kind of operating procedure for like checking this stuff? Because I just don't know how it's cement. I'm assuming it's cemented into the ground, and there's no like little door they can peek inside. What do you do to check the insides of this thing without cutting it open? But Casual, what are your thoughts on this when you saw this?
Yeah, I kind of had that same exact reaction. Was, well, how do you check for something like this? I find it hard to believe that you would expect Disney to sit there. Okay, I need everybody to go check every light pole and make sure there's no corrosion or rust happening on the base of it. That does not seem like a feasible or typical type of thing. And I don't know, like the wires right there, lead me to believe that that little base somehow can be unscrewed and lifted so that they could get to the wiring, because that was my thing. It's like, maybe because with the lighting, things go out and you got to check, okay, well, where's the issue? You would have to get to those wires pretty easily. You would want to make it so that, the electricians could get in and, troubleshoot pretty easily. So does that base lift up or something, like you unscrew it and it slides up the pole and kind of, you can lock it in place and then get with the wire, do with the wires. Yep. But even then, are the electricians told, hey, when you go to these, fixtures and check the wires, check all the metal around it and see if there's any rust.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. And that's what I was going to say too. If you actually look at the base of the post on the outer part, there's not showing any kind of significant rust that kind of started from the inside and moved to the outside.
Right. And that was my other thing. It was like, is there something that they could have put in place to, kind of flag a rust issue? Right. So that it's like, hey, if this thing starts to rust, that the pole is starting to, have some rust or corrosion on it. So that's a red flag as soon as you see this, but again, I don't know any sort of the science or any protocols for it. So it's like, this is all, hey, if light pole fell, well, why didn't they do these crazy things that we're thinking of right now? But I think it unfortunately, it does seem like it was one of those freak accidents that, over time, people just, assumed, well, it's not my job. I'm not a, metal and rust expert. So I'm not paying any attention to it. It's like, I got to get the lights working.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like one of those things that you don't really, that they're there, but you don't really pay too much attention to, because you just think, okay, how much damage can a light pole do to a person? Well, apparently I guess it can do quite some damage. Now I'm going to be walking through the parks, kind of like every time I pass like a light post or a pole, I'm going to be like looking, like making sure it's not moving.
Well, this is one of the lighting grids for the show lighting for the parades. So it's not like it was just like one of the little globe lights at the top or anything. This one has, at least 8 lights up at the top of it. So,
oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, those are big boys. Those are big. I mean, these people are really, really lucky, Yeah.
And they're show lighting, so, and they're out in the elements. So they're, pretty sturdily made. So I'm not sure how you would be able to check on it on a regular basis other than, like I said, the electricians, be told, hey, when you're out here, working on this stuff, always inspect the area for corrosion or rust or whatever.
Yeah, I really think now they're really going to have to look into it, not even just those light poles that are in that area, but all around the park. Because again, if they installed any light poles that were kind of put in at the same time as this one, well, chances are, especially since you guys out there have been, not recently, but have been getting like insignificant rain. Like that's not like the norm, especially last January. I remember when I was out there, it was like freezing cold and it was like, and then that torrential downpour, I think it was in February. So, I mean, a lot of times you guys aren't, used to the rain and what have you. And then adding in the Santa Ana winds on top of it, then this is what could possibly happen.
Yeah, exactly. We did have a unseasonably wet winter this last year. So that could be part of it, that, they weren't necessarily made to withstand, that kind of rain happening. And there was just too much water pooling and you end up with the rust. So,
yeah. So they're probably just, because especially if it, with the wet grass and everything, it seeps under, it just sits, it stagnates and
Well, I wonder too, with speaking of wet grass, they've been on this fake grass kick for a long time, right? For at least like the past, I would say ever since Toontown opened in January, they've been kind of doing this whole fake grass thing. I don't know. I mean, is this going to motivate them to put more fake grass in this area? Because if you don't have real grass, you're not watering it, and you don't get that moisture.
Yeah, that is true.
So we'll see. I don't know. It's a sad situation overall. The people that got hurt, obviously, we pray for them. Hopefully, that they're fine and make a full recovery. The families deserve some sort of compensation. Absolutely. Yeah. This is a crazy.
Yeah, that's the bad part, and that's why I hope that it really is just a freak accident, because going to the park so much, I'm running into, the constant issues of, hey, let's go over here. Oh, Indy's down. Oh, well, let's just bounce over to Thunder Mountain. Oh, Thunder Mountain's down. Oh, well, let's go on Rise of the Resistance. And you wait 20 minutes, and next thing you know, it's 101, and they're, taking you out of the line. I've experienced that tons of times on the live streams. And I try to tell, my viewers, I tell them I'm trying to stay positive, but when you're hit, with attraction after attraction after attraction after attraction, it's like once you get to 4 in a row, you start feeling like, okay, this is an issue. And I know, most of the time, I've heard that, if somebody, and this is why they tell you to take your hats off on Minnie and Mickey and Rise of the Resistance, because there are the scenes with a little bit of wind. If your hat flies off, they have to shut the ride down because it's now in the path of the vehicles, because the vehicles go all over the place. All it takes is one little kid's hat to go whoop, and ride has to get shut down, evac, because they can't move the vehicles anymore. So ride shuts down. Everybody's got to be evac, which takes at least, half hour, 45 minutes if you've ever been evac off of one of those kind of rides. And then they have to reset and then reopen.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the leads over at Rise of the Resistance not too long ago, and he was telling us that 9 times out of 10, when that ride goes down, it's because of exactly what you were saying, Casual. Yeah. Someone dropped their hat, their Mickey ears, their glasses, something on the ground, and because it's that Bluetooth sensor thing, whatever they use for the vehicles, it shuts the whole thing down every single time. So. And the issue too for DCA, like, as fans, obviously we want another e-ticket, right? Obviously we want that just for the nerd factor. We're hungry for it. But even for logistical situations, operational situations, you need, you need these rides. Like, for example, right now, Radiator Springs Racers is the only e-ticket. So they're very hesitant to ever take that off the grid and refurb it. It goes, I think, for too long without a refurb because there's nothing else to really kind of hold down the fort while it's away. If you had that Avengers e-ticket, you can bring these rides, you could take racers down more frequently to kind of, retrofit it, renovate it, and the whole thing. So that's another thing with these attractions is that, they have to, with DCA especially, there has to be a couple more e-tickets in that park to kind of take the pressure off like rides like racers. So
and that's honestly Animal Kingdom's issue. That's why Expedition Everest is constantly up. That's why Flight at Q. Imagine if they was to close down Flight of Passage. I mean, God forbid, you'd go from 7 rides in Animal Kingdom down to 2, just to close that ride alone. So that's the one thing that Disney has to kind of get a lock and hold on is, you need a substantial amount of e-ticket attractions, family rides, what have you, that if anything has to go down, there's still enough in the day for people to enjoy, so they could say, hey, I got my money's worth out of my ticket. Even though, yes, I would love to have gone on this ride, but, stuff happens. So, but at least we were able to do X, Y, and Z sort of thing.
Right. And that's why, like I was about to say, that's why I hope this is just a freak accident, because we've been seeing so many of these, what we consider maintenance issues. I mean, we had the station at New Orleans Square go up in flames and it's still not back. We had Murphy go up in flames, literally in front of everybody. And those, I don't know, are those maintenance issues? Are they, just freak accidents? But you've got a series of them happening, and it starts making you kind of wonder, okay, what's going on? Is there an issue of not enough budget and resources being put into maintenance, and, having the right people in place to be able to watch for those little things, somebody that's very seasoned with, these types of attractions and, mechanics, to be able to say, okay, no, I see something that's a little bit off. We got to get this replaced, or, this has to be addressed now. I would hope, that's why I said, I hope that this is just a freak accident, because if it's part of a pattern, we're at the point where somebody got hurt now.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's gone beyond, oh, I can't ride Indy, for another 2 hours, possibly.
Now, I don't know if you heard anything more. Did they say any significance of the injuries to the guests for the like the light pole
No, they just said that they were taken to the hospital.
hospital?
So that's, the extent. I don't think they've released any information as to what the injury was, and
Okay.
we probably won't know until, there's, the lawsuit kind of thing happening or whatever. And if like you said, Disney gets proactive about it, they may hush it up and, okay, we'll give you this much money, but you can't say anything. So
Yeah, but basically, yeah. And I just, I hope that, because, Disney tries, and they just constantly keep getting hit with something every
Right.
time they turn around. So if they can just kind of get a hold and a grip on these things so it doesn't occur. And I know, as I said, shit happens. There's
Right.
nothing, some things it's just out of your control, but it's how you handle it and maintain the situation
Yeah.
and how to better it for the next time.
Yeah. And like I said,
Yeah.
this one's bad only because we've got guests that were actually hurt on this one.
Yeah.
It's not just, hey, there was a fire and, we put it out and there was some damage, but, thankfully nobody was hurt. This one, unfortunately, and obviously it happened in plain view of other guests. So it was probably quite the, fiasco as, the cast members are trying to figure out what was going on, so.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, we're as bad as this was. We're fortunate enough that no one lost their life, because I mean those lights are massive, dude. I mean when I found out it was one of those parade lights, I was like, oh my god, that's crazy.
And that's what I was just asking Casual. I don't know if you heard anything, OG. You haven't heard any kind of reporting on the actual kind of injury itself. That one, it wasn't like they didn't say anything like of a head injury or anything.
No, and they're really careful with that stuff because there's like HIPAA law and stuff, but like privacy for medical information. A lot of these people might not want that to be revealed, so they're not going to disclose it. Things like that. We'll see. But yeah, praying for everybody involved. Hopefully, everyone comes out okay, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. Hopefully Disney, can figure out exactly why this kind of slipped under their radar and ensure that it does not happen again. Because there was an accident actually in the early 2000s on the Columbia.
Oh yeah.
Where one of the cleats from above. Remember that, Casual?
Oh yeah.
And it fell, and that one I think actually ended up killing the guy.
Yeah.
That did.
And then we had that big thunder accident around that same time, So these accidents are a big black eye for Disney, and you really have to make sure that you can minimize as much as possible. So we'll see. But that brings us to our next topic, which is Daddy Josh. George and I talked about Daddy Josh yesterday. Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. It's unbelievable. We did like a rant video yesterday, Casual. I don't know if you saw it, but like it was like we're so frustrated with this what if maybe stuff. Like we're just tired of it. Like what are your thoughts on this? Like he's talking about a potential Indiana Jones ride, and again, it's all this blue sky stuff. There's no kind of commitment to anything,
Yeah, the blue sky stuff is extreme. To me, it's extremely dangerous because number one, you either start giving people these grandiose ideas of what might be happening, and then budget is going to reel things back, and people have already seen these blue sky with the everything that the Imagineers could possibly want to do, and then they get to do about 50% or less of what was there because budgets are budgets. So you've got that aspect, but then I don't like this focus grouping kind of thing that they're doing, because it's like Walt was a master of giving people what they didn't know they wanted. Right?
Yes.
That's what the visionaries do. The visionaries are looking past, that immediate need and saying, we're going to go beyond that, and we're going to give you something that you didn't even know you wanted. That's what, Steve Jobs was good at doing. He was like, okay, we're going to give you a computer, even though you didn't think you needed a computer. We're going to make you want a computer. Right. And when you focus group it, you're starting to say, okay, well, most of the people want this, so let's give them this. It's like, don't just give people what they want, go beyond that. And that's to me the bigger thing. And in the creative industry, the worst thing is being in a room with 7 people and they're all given ideas, and it's up to me now to take all those ideas and mesh it into something that everybody's going to like. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to you're going to end up with something that is, extremely vanillaed, to the nth degree, and ends up being something that's nice.
And that's kind of to your point, Casual, of what you were saying about like Walt Disney and Steve Jobs and what have you. It was, they'd never really put forth to showcase and kind of throw it in people's faces. It's like, if we're going to do this, let's do it. People will see it as it's happening, and and then they get immersed into that moment and what have you. With Tomorrow, he's giving us everything at once and hyping us up, but then there's no delivery. It's just
Exactly.
It stops there. It just stops there after the huge announcement. I mean, we went from kind of like, speaking of like in Animal Kingdom, for example, for the Dino Land area, we went from Moana and Zootopia now to Encanto and Indiana Jones mixed with a little bit of Coco. So they took out Coco and Encanto from Beyond Big Thunder, but Big Thunder is still in consideration. So now what's going on there? Heard nothing more of the Villains Land. It's like, now I'm really confused. And on top of that, even Encanto and Indiana Jones are still up for consideration.
Yeah. And you're gonna have it to where people are just no longer interested in these presentations. It's going to be, I'll find out what somebody says on Twitter. I don't need to watch it. It's like there's no hype anymore because you've been, it's the bait and switch kind of thing constantly happening. Only it's not even a bait and switch. It's a bait and take it away.
Yeah,
you don't get anything at the end of it, and that's what's terrible. I don't understand why they're doing this. I mean, I get that. Okay, yeah, they don't really have anything going on, so they got to figure out some way to get people hyped. But this is the wrong way to go about it. There's so many other little things you could be doing to get people hyped up and keep the momentum of enthusiasm for the parks going. But, talking about what you might do and could do, and then we're going to change it, and maybe we'll do this instead, and never actually say, all right, cool, we've got it. We are breaking ground in, 6 months.
Exactly. That's what OG and I were constantly, discussing. It's whether you know about something or not. You don't have to give us a full beginning to end presentation. You don't have to justify of why it's going there or what's going here. Just give us a basic template. It's like, we're thinking of doing this, or more so, we're going to do this.
Right.
This is the IP. It's going here. We're looking at close to an opening around this time. More will be discussed later on as we start breaking ground. That is what excites me, because essentially what they're doing is they're telling you, okay, this is what we're doing. This isn't what we're thinking about doing. I could care less about what you're thinking of doing, because essentially that could be nothing at the end.
Right. And that's exactly what we're getting. We're finding out that, they hyped us up for, Beyond Big Thunder, and is that in the trash can now? Is that, completely gone? Is it still on the table? What, we're left kind of going, okay, whatever.
And now let me ask you. Oh, and before we go on, I just have to say to you, Casual, and to the viewers watching, OG is having some technical issues every time he comes in, so he's going to be behind the scenes while we finish up the show. He wishes that he could finish it up, but unfortunately, his internet is acting like Josh D'Amaro's career. So anyway, so kind of going back to the conversation now. OG and I were kind of talking about this yesterday. That D'Amaro said some key moments in his interview about like we're going all in. You're going to see more blue sky. We're getting more blue sky. We're going along for the journey. We want to take you along with us and all that stuff. So in order to do that, you have to have a platform to make those kind of announcements, even if it is blue sky. And the only way to do that is with the next event, which is the D23 event, which was the expo that's coming in August in Anaheim. And that kind of concerns me because I had high optimism that, they're going to move the parks presentation to the Honda Center. And, there's going to be about 25,000 people that they could fit in there, that if they, decide to fill the whole entire thing up, I severely doubt it, but just for the sake of it, you never know. But with Disneyland Forward, on the rise of getting greenlit and, through the city and, the political issues that are going on with Florida right now with Walt Disney World, I thought by the time the expo comes around, we're going to be getting, actual news that's actually coming. But this kind of concerns me that if Tomorrow keeps on mentioning more blue sky, could this potentially be at the expo? How do you think fans would react to it? And could that essentially put a nail in Tomorrow's career?
Yeah, I think if they stretch this out much longer with the blue sky stuff, it's going to be the end of his career at Disney at the very least. Like I said, it's the completely wrong way to go about it. Even from just, like I said, being in the creative industry, you don't have people walk through that entire process with you like that. You're hamstringing your designers that way, because now everybody's got expectations in certain directions, and you can't roam as much as you wanted to before. Now it's, okay, well, we saw the reaction for this, so you guys aren't going to be able to do that. It was, a tepid response for this. And it's like, well, we had the right, everything was lining up right. We just needed to develop it just a little bit more. And we would have been able to, convince everybody or, pull everybody to our side. And now it's gone. Exactly. Those are the kind of things that end up happening with this. It's, going along for the journey is fine, but that only works once we know our destination for the general public. The Imagineers, they need to go and do the searching and the wandering and, figuring out where we're going without anybody hindering them, without people, pushing them in this direction or pulling them over here because, this focus group seemed to like this better. That is a horrible way to be doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that puts a lot of pressure on the Imagineers, because essentially what Tomorrow is doing, it's like, okay, just take a concept, go out on stage in front of all these people, pitch your idea and see if they like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, then they're in the crossfire. It's like, that's essentially not their job. Their job is exactly what you just described. And then after you kind of say, okay, this is what we're going for. Let's green light this thing. Let's make the official announcement. That's what that's for. And Tomorrow just took it in a completely different direction.
And not to mention, I mean, like you just said, what the heck is Tomorrow's job then? If the Imagineers are pitching it to the public to find out where it's going to go, what is Josh doing? I thought he's the one who should be looking at what the Imagineers are doing and saying, I love that idea. We're going to be, spending the money on that because I think that's the right thing to do. Let's go and, wow everybody with this. That's the process. He's the one calling the shots, but what he seems to be doing is offloading that decision out to the public and the focus groups.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the meantime, Imagineers are flailing, trying to figure out, okay, how can we, win over Twitter with our idea? Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. And it started, and before we pivot to our next topic, I just have to say, I remember going to the previous expo back in it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. I don't even know what year we're in anymore. So, that they started doing this with this what if sort of thing, and people were going nuts with the Villains Land and Coco, and even Encanto. They got high responses to it, and a lot of people were walking out of there and they were posting on social media saying, oh, we're getting Encanto, we're getting Coco, we're getting Villains. Like, everyone was saying, this is what we're getting. And then it wasn't until, like, a lot of people kind of had a tell them like, whoa, your horse is a little bit. This was not the case.
Right.
And so it happened again at Destination D with Encanto and Indiana Jones. It's like, oh, yep, that's what we're getting. This is, nope, it's not what we're getting. And now I'm starting to see from his last interview, now people aren't even excited for anything anymore. And this is what he's depleting that enthusiasm and that hype, because people know it's like the boy who cried wolf. It's like when you cry wolf too many times, no one's going to end up believing you. And that's his image that he wants as chairman of the parks of the Walt Disney Company. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking, but I mean, he definitely has to change his route and change it quick.
Yeah. He, like I said, he's offloading the decision making, and that is a horrible way to be running the parks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking still of running with park operations, Disney Genie Plus sells out at the Magic Kingdom for the second consecutive day during the Thanksgiving week. I have to ask you, Casual, is that a surprise to you? Because I find it kind of interesting, because a lot of people have been saying, particularly at Walt Disney World, that their parks aren't really bringing in the people as much as Disneyland, but yet at the same time, Genie Plus is selling out completely. So is that because of the amount of people in the parks, or is that Disney kind of cutting down the Genie Plus where it's selling out because of the amount of people that's in the parks? Like, what's your take on that?
It's probably a combination. I mean, we are coming into the holiday season, so this is going to be one of the busier times for the theme parks. And we don't know what the numbers are for Genie Plus. What's the cap? Is it a percentage of, turnstile clicks, or is it a set number every day? We don't know exactly how they do that. And is this one of those ways, where they create a false sense of scarcity and then, slowly ramp up numbers and be selling more? And I don't know. When I see it, it's the problem that I have is, we were talking about it before. You get the Genie Plus, and how many times have we seen footage or photos where the Genie Plus, the Lightning Lane return line, is longer than the standby line?
Exactly. And that has happened many times that I've seen. I think Braden from Mickey Views was at Hollywood Studios, and he basically did a walk-on of Toy Story Mania through the standby line. And while he was passing, he pulled out, I guess, either his phone or his camera, and he videoed the Genie Plus line, that it was a complete standstill.
Yep.
Where the standby line looked like what the Genie Plus line should have been. And OG and I have this conversation many times that I personally feel like, and he says the same thing, that that they should raise the prices of Genie Plus, have it more restricted to a certain amount of people, have it blocked off. The demand kind of goes down, but the hype kind of goes up, where you only have that certain amount of people that can use it. And then that keeps the guest flow in the standby line, and also the guest flow for Genie Plus. I just feel like that they're completely overselling it to too many people within a day's time.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should. I mean, they could raise it. I'd say, either 4 or 5 times the price, and still and then make it a incredible experience for the people who have purchased, without derailing the entire standby line process. And the thing is they could release it, and they could do so much with the Genie Plus at that point, then, because then you can release, special Genie Plus, activities, and you can push it through the app. So you can say, limited, Genie, Lightning Lanes available for X number of dollars if it's not selling as much as you really want, and you can kind of push it and give, little incentives to come back on it. But the people that pay for Genie Plus, half the time they're waiting in a, slightly shorter line. It's not even like it's a walk on at that point. It's, you get to wait, usually a little bit less than the standby.
Other than the traditional fast pass that they brought back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the paper ones that come out of the kiosk and
Mm-hmm.
everything, the one that I really thought was the most desirable and efficient way to get through the parks was actually the Max Pass over at
Yeah.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
I really wish that they would have just incorporated that, but just do it digitally right on your phone. Just kind of keep that same kind of notion. That made the parks so easy to enjoy and made the flow right. Even Walt Disney World didn't get it right after they got rid of the paper fast passes. They went to the Fast Pass Plus, which you only get 3 fast passes per park per day. Then after a certain time, then you can get like after 6 p.m. when everything's already booked. But you could get one for Dumbo, just
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
But Max Pass at Disneyland, I felt was one of the best routes that Disney used, and it's just a shame that they don't utilize it anymore.
Right. Yeah. That. Like I said, that's the unfortunate thing is it's a convoluted system. I mean, everybody's always been making the jokes of, okay, so you got to get up at this time. You're going to have to register this for this day, and you got to make sure that your family's all on one, all the tickets are on here, and so is going to make the thing, and you can get them for this time, but then you have to wait until this time to get another one, and then once you do that one, you can't get it again, and all those things. And don't forget Rise of the Resistance. It's a separate one. You have to pay individually for that one, but you don't need Genie Plus if you want to buy just the Rise of the Resistance. It's too much. They need to simplify it. And like I said, if they make it just, a higher price point so that you're actually getting a value for what you're paying. Because right now, I don't think $30 a person is a good value for it at all.
No, not at all. I completely agree with you. It has to be much higher. And again, if you're going to then raise the price even higher to that, you could even attach that so you don't have to do individual Lightning Lane, because the price would just be so high that it would just be included with it.
Yep.
So that would be my take on it. And I wanted to ask you really quick while we were on that subject matter, what is your take on as far as like with virtual queues? Do you feel like that they're necessary? Do you feel like that they work? Are they efficient enough for the guests? Or do you feel like that it's something that shouldn't even be used anymore?
I don't like them, but I also understand that you don't want people showing up and then there's 6-hour lines for things, when it's a brand new attraction. So I get it, but it doesn't. The first time I got an opportunity to do Rise of the Resistance was with virtual queues, and it was in the morning. We're on our way to Disneyland, and I've got Mrs. Casual on the phone trying to get us our thing, and she knows nothing about what this is, this whole virtual queue thing. And so she's like, so what do I do? And I'm like, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to want to do this. And she's like, okay. And I said, okay, now just keep watching, and you're going to kind of refresh it. And she's like, well, it didn't do anything. I said, well, then don't worry about it because they're already gone. And she's like, well, what? Did I mess up? Did I do something wrong? What? And she started feeling bad. And I'm like, no, that's how it is that within a few seconds it goes away. She's like, well, I was doing what you told me. I understand, hon. It's just how it is. Well, but I didn't mean to mess up. It's okay, And so that was how we started our day on over to Disneyland. Later in the day, when the second group was available, she was, able to, be watching for it, and she got us our, return times. We went and did the lightsaber thing and headed over to Rise of the Resistance at 8 p.m. Broken down.
Ugh.
And so we didn't get to ride it because it was like, well, do we know when it's coming back? And they said, well, we don't really know. And it was like, okay, we got 2 more hours in the park. We're out of here. We're going to go do other stuff. And it's like, that's the unfortunate thing is, we're sitting there going through all of that, and we never even got to ride it because, our time slot just ended up being when it broke down.
And that's the sucky thing, so to speak, that, and you're lucky enough because you're a local that you can have another chance
right
at another time, where if you have a family from Colorado that are coming, and it's, you know, and they got that one-time shot to do that, and it's just a shame that if they happen to lose that opportunity. So I do hope, you know, that Disney can find a way, you know, with these virtual queues, with these uh, Genie Plus, Lightning Lane, just theme park operations, you know, getting things fixed, keeping them fixed, maintaining them, no accidents, no injuries. Yeah, there's a lot on Disney's plate right now that they have to kind of configure, and you know, and it's, you know, it's just the way how a business goes, you know. But it's just like we just gotta just keep on going. You know,
Yep.
that's how Walt would want it. You know, there were times even back in his day where, you know, a lot of issues came up, but it's like when you want something that bad, you pursue it, and you know that's what is that this company is based on. You know, it's
Yeah.
how it was founded. So, you know, so just our wishes and luck to the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah.
But Casual, I do want to thank you for coming on and joining us. It's always great to have you on, brother, and talking shop, talking Disney, talking Knott's Berry Farm. It's always great to have you on. But if you also would like to let everyone know where they could find you on social media.
Yeah. Again, thank you for having me back. I always love coming and hanging out, and like you said, talking shop. It's fun to be around like-minded people, and you know, who love to dig into the little details. But if you would like to join me on my live streams, you can find me on YouTube at Theme Park Casual. If you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram for other posts and discussion, it's also at Theme Park Casual.
Awesome. Sounds good. And for everyone out there watching, please comment down below on everything that we discussed with Genie Plus, with Josh Damaro, with the virtual queues, everything that we talked about today. Comment down below. We love to hear from you, your thoughts, questions, opinions. You never know. It might turn out in a future Orange Grove 55 video. I am Citrus George, the Italiano. You could find me on social media on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And as part of my my best friend, my brother OG, who unfortunately couldn't finish this segment due to technical issues. He wishes everybody well, and to always have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, everybody.